G'day guys and gal. Unless you're a turbo virgin Warhammer 40k nerd like myself, you probably consider the time period between the Horus Heresy and the current setting as a bit of a black spot. Sure, there was the War of the Beast, which was weird, and George Van Dyer, that douchebag, but it really feels like nothing that exciting or fleshed out happened in that period. It definitely makes you wonder where all the Primarchs were, especially the traitor ones, since by all counts they should have been active and poised to take on the Imperium. Well, there is actually a decent amount of lore about each of the traitor Primarchs and what they've been up to since the Heresy. So I thought today let's check out what the greatest of the traitor Primarchs were doing. Yes, that's right. Perty deserves some respect. Before we get started, the sale of the legendary Perturabo continues. This is the coolest fucking mini we have ever released. A Goliath perfectly scaled to the tabletop, featuring his legendary weapon, Anvil Smasher, as well as a whole array of weaponry. The cool thing about his head and helmet variants is that the helmet is a mask that you can easily magnetize, so you can swap between his face being visible and it just being a mask. This model comes in 3 different scales, because of course there had to be bigger versions. Tabletop scale for all your wargaming needs. I'm actually very proud of how we scaled the tabletop version. The base is 100mm exactly, and he fits perfectly in with his brothers. Then there is the art scale, twice the girth. This is the scale if you just want to paint and display him, so it has bigger details. This would be the best scale for, let's say, a painting competition. Then we have the ultra scale, making him the size of a fucking titan. We are only making 10 of these, and the time, money, and effort required making each of them basically means there's zero profit, but I do it for the love of the game. This is a limited launch and will only be around until the 23rd of March, so get it now before it's gone. There will never be another model with the girth of this bad boy. Worldwide shipping, and if you add enough to cart, shipping is free. So don't miss out, link is below. Today we'll go over exactly what Perturabo has been doing since the Horus Heresy, which could give us some clues as to when he will return in the current setting. Let's get into it. Now, Perturabo was actually the first traitor Primarch to leave Terra, not because he was a coward, but because the man actually had morals and honor. Horus was using him as a blunt tool to smash the Emperor's walls down, and as soon as he got a shinier tool, i.e. shitloads of demons, he pushed Perty to the side. Perturabo, who had been neglected by the Emperor and never given the attention he deserved, was treated even worse by Horus. Now, Perturabo did get some pretty hilarious revenge against Horus for using him like this, via more or less tricking the entire Sons of Horus command structure into committing suicide via the Saturnine Gambit. I mean, I've never seen so many named characters, many of whom had been around for the entire Heresy series, get killed off in such a short time. It was glorious. However, that did little to make Perty feel good, so he left the Heresy. He vowed that he would turn chaos into his bitch, which a lot of people have vowed, and it hasn't gone so well for anyone. Perturabo's first big act post-Heresy was to humiliate Regal Dawn during the Battle of the Iron Cage. Now, I dove pretty deep into this last video, so I won't just rehash, but basically Perturabo outplayed Dawn at nearly every turn, killed most of the Imperial Fist Legion, and then retreated when the Ultramarines arrived. Perty then sacrificed 400 Imperial Fist gene seeds to the Chaos Gods, which alongside them being impressed at how hard he clapped Dawn, made them elevate him to become a Demon Prince. Now, a lot of people aren't a fan of that, saying it goes against Perturabo's character. However, GW has confirmed it to be the case, and they're currently setting up this exact character arc in the Scouring series, with the early signs being there that he would choose to become a demon eventually. Also, they're probably going to do a little bit of retconning anyway. Perturabo became a demon of Chaos Undivided, meaning he basically had no master other than Chaos itself, and as Chaos, by its very nature, never really agrees with itself, Perty is basically free to do whatever he wants. Post-Ascension, he took his legion into the Eye of Terror and they set up shop on a demon world called Medrengard. The world has more or less become a massive dick measuring contest between all the various warsmiths, as they each built gigantic fortresses and defense networks to try outdo each other. Perturabo himself built the greatest of these fortresses, often cited as the greatest fortress in the galaxy, calling it the Fortress of Hate. Because of fucking course he did. Now, this dick measuring contest eventually got out of hand, as in M31, the Iron Warriors entered into a massive civil war on Medrengard, called the Dispute of Iron, that lasted for over a century. All the various Iron Warrior sub-faction engage in a vicious war, testing each other's defenses and fortresses. A number of Iron Warriors chapters, warbands, and companies were completely annihilated. Now, it's not entirely clear why this happened. More than likely, everyone got bored. They had built cool fortresses, yet the Imperium was never going to enter the Eye of Terror and attack Medrengard, so it felt like a waste. More than likely, Perturabo pitted his legion against itself to whittle out the weak, to temper the iron as it could be said, as some kind of large-scale decimation, something he had done to his legion before. However, Perty was active before the civil war broke out. In M31, Perty struck a deal with Nurgle and concocted a supercomputer demon virus. He managed to upload this virus to the Forge Word of Toil, and after 8 days, the machines of the world came to life in horrific demonic forms and killed everyone. Now, invoking a specific Chaos God and using them to wipe out a world without then invoking the other 3 for for similar levels of destruction is a huge no-no for Chaos Undivided. We have seen this time and time again with Abaddon. As the War Master of Chaos Undivided, Abaddon has to work extremely hard to maintain balance within his court. During the fall of Cadia, a huge plot point was his Core Knight champion getting too big for his boots, with Abaddon actively trying to assassinate his own champion to stop him from getting too powerful, thus tipping the scales of Abaddon's court too far into the favor of Khorne. So Perty just using Nurgle without any apparent consequence is wild, and a massive testament to Perty's character. This actually reminds me of a funny scene during the Heresy where some Plague Marines try to convince Perturabo to join Nurgle, and after respectfully hearing them out, Perty was like, "No thank you," and then annihilates them. So it is funny to see Perty just kind of doing whatever he wants. In M39, Perturabo helped Abaddon's 10th Black Crusade by providing them with the warp portal they needed to be able to get out of the Eye of Terror without needing to run the gauntlet of the Cadian Gate, which basically means he was able to leave the Eye of Terror without having to launch a massive war and lose a ton of ships and soldiers. He also gave Abaddon an army of Iron Warriors, which Abaddon used to attack Medusa, homeworld of the Iron Hands. Why did he do this? Well, Perturabo had a grudge against the Iron Hands for some reason, maybe because he didn't like that they both had iron in their name, so he provided some rare assistance. After this, Perturabo would spend the next 1,000 or so years studying the Imperial defenses across their many worlds, running simulations, war games, and the like, whilst also identifying which worlds were the most heavily defended. When Cadia fell and the Great Rift opened, Perturabo unleashed his master plan. He sent his armies forth to siege and destroy the most heavily defended fortresses, purely out of spite. During this period, Perty's complicated relationship with Nurgle would also continue, with Perturabo and his legion going head-to-head against Mortarion and his Death Guard over who could control an ancient temple on a hidden world. Initially, Perturabo had the advantage, his greater firepower smashing through the Death Guard. However, the longer the war raged, the worse it got for the Iron Warriors, as Mortarion's plagues began to wear down the 4th Legion, whilst the Iron Warriors' war machines became riddled with rust and decay, shutting down mid-battle. Eventually, attrition swung the balance in favor of Mortarion, and Perturabo was forced to withdraw, having lost the war. The last we've heard from Perty is a recent cheeky collab he had with Vashtor the Arcathane, which is a shocker to nobody. It makes complete sense that the Dark Mechanicum and the Iron Warriors would be butting up with each other. The two mad geniuses have created many abominations together, with Perturabo even giving a complement of Iron Warriors over to Vashtor to help him with his Arcs of Omen campaign, notably the Siege of the Rock against the Dark Angels. For the most part, Perturabo has been acting behind the scenes. Many of Chaos's most hectic new weapons and demon engines were of his design. He likes to direct wars like a strategy game rather than getting hands on himself. This mirrors his attitude before he was a demon. He barely got physically involved in the Siege of Terror. As far as we know, he barely got hands on during the Iron Cage, and his flagship, the Iron Blood, literally has no windows because Perty claims to not give a fuck about the spectacle of war. We know that's actually not true, but that's what he claims. He thoroughly enjoys executing strategies, then being notified of that strategy's success not via hearing his men cheer or slaying the enemy's champion, but by seeing successful return data streams. Dude is a bigger fucking nerd than Guilliman, by far. So where does that leave him now? Are we about to see Perturabo re-enter the setting? After all, it does seem like the Iron Warriors are getting a spotlight in the most recent Chaos releases. Well, it is hard to say. GW's Primarch release schedule is a bit random. They launched 3 pretty close to each other at the start, then waited 6 years and launched Angron and the Lion close together, with Fulgrim soon after. So they'll either let it cook for a while, maybe another 3 years or so, or they will soon release either Russ or Perturabo. However, my money is on Russ. In saying that though, there is a lot of very fresh lore that needs to be at least somewhat resolved. Guilliman and the Lion haven't met up yet. Fulgrim has done literally fucking nothing, so bringing in another Primarch now would be pretty dumb in my opinion. When Magnus returned, he was the antagonist of the Terran Crusade, attacked Fenris, and is rebuilding Prospero. Guilliman has done a fucking shitload and has like 20 books about him. Mortarion was involved in and directed the Plague Wars, which had an entire book series, whilst Angron was one of the big bads of the Arcs of Omen and continues to be a massive pain in everyone's ass. So I would be expecting some late 2026, mid 2027 new Primarch action at the earliest. Either way, Perty has been a very busy biggie buzz, but his version of busy is basically just playing very high stakes video games whilst building the most obscene weaponry imaginable and unimaginable, which in my opinion is pretty based. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up Peter Turbo in any of his 3 scales or all of them. YOLO, right? Hit the subscribe button, hit the real subscribe button for more iron content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.